All right. Hi, everyone. Let's do this. It's time for me to read more Calling on Dragons. I'm going to do a bunch of these at once so that I can program them throughout the week so I don't have to miss a day. Because no more missing days. Unless something happens. Okay, so this is chapter 3. It's for Melanie. Thank you, Melanie. This is called In Which Morwen Makes a Discovery and Some Calls. Morwen. I love Morwen. There was an instant of silence, and then all the animals tried to talk at once. Fucking, of course they did. Of course they did. One at a time, please, Morwen. How often does she have to say that? I believe that's probably the most common thing she says in her whole life. Or I won't understand a thing any of you are trying to say. Killer first. The rabbit. Trouble curled his lip back, showing his fangs in an expression that wasn't quite a snarl. Why him? Courtesy to a guest, Morwen replied. Killer. It's just a hole in the moss, said the rabbit. It doesn't look like a wizard to me. Of course that's not a wizard, Anophelia said. That is what a wizard's staff does when it touches part of the enchanted forest. I thought everyone knew that. Don't be pretentious. He obviously hasn't been paying attention to the news for the last year. Is there a news service? Miss Eliza said, possibly longer. She switched her tail. Are you even aware that the king of the enchanted forest has been married for nearly 14 months? 14 months later? Oh my god. Stop badgering, Morwen said to the cats. And remember that you are in somewhat of a privileged position when it comes to news from the castle. Oh my god. She turned to Killer. Queen Cimmerian has been a friend of mine since before the wedding, and we still keep in touch. You knew about the wizard staff long before then, Miss Eliza objected. Knew what about wizard staffs? Killer's ears swiveled from the cats to Morwen. I feel like that lawnmower is super loud. That they make holes in the forest? Exactly, Morwen said. Wizard staff absorb magic from anything that happens to be around. Fortunately, in the enchanted forest, everything is magical, one way or another. When a staff soaks up enough magic, it kills part of the forest. And this certainly looks like the kind of thing that happens when a wizard sets down the end of his staff, Miss Eliza said. Careless creatures. Well, if this bit is from a wizard's staff, what made all those tiny dots back by the clover patch? Anophelia said. Miniature wizards? Quite possibly, Morwen replied. If a wizard worked a size-changing spell in this area and let a little spill over the clover patch, it wouldn't explain Killer's unusual growth very nicely. Miss Eliza's nose twitched as if she smelled something unpleasant. I said they were careless. Yes, but look, Morwen, this can't be wizards, Trouble said. The king chased them all out of the forest before he got married. One of them seems to have come back, Morwen said, looking pointedly at the bare spot, and I think we'd better notify the king immediately. Couldn't you just plant something new in the hole? Forget about it? Asked Killer nervously. I mean, the king must have more important things to do than worry about my clover patch. All three of the cats swiveled their heads and stared at him with disapproval. The rabbit's ears wilted under their combined gaze. It was just a thought. Don't judge him. On the contrary, said Miss Eliza. Anophelia shrugged. What do you expect from a rabbit? Oh my god. Don't be bigots. It's the wizards that are important, not your clover, said Trouble, if there are wizards. Nothing else I know of does that, Morwen pointed at the hole. Just because you don't know of it doesn't mean there isn't something, Trouble retorted. I suppose you're right, Morwen considered for a moment. She couldn't tell whether the holes had been made by a wizard staff or not, but she knew at least 3 people who could. The first 2 were the king of the enchanted forest and his queen Cimmerian. The third... Yes. I'd better give Telemaine a call. Oh, Telemaine. As well as Mendenbar and Cimmerian. If we're lucky, he'll think it's a fascinating challenge. And if we're not, he'll prose on about it for hours, Trouble muttered. The cats know. They know how this works. Who's What's-its? Asked Killer. An old friend and magical theoretician. Theoretician? That's a fun word. Morwen said he's interested in wizards, among other things. Trouble poked his nose into the brown spot and then pulled it back quickly and sneezed. Can we go now? Morwen started back toward the clover patch. As soon as I take a sample of Killer's clover. I guess I'll be going then, Killer said, backing away as he spoke. Nice meeting you and all. Don't be silly, Morwen said over her shoulder. You're coming with us. I want you to tell your story to Telemaine and the king, and how else are you going to get a decent meal? The rabbit didn't answer, and Morwen stopped paying attention to him. Kneeling close to the clover patch once more, she reached into the loose left sleeve of her robe, which she used as a sort of enchanted backpack. The spell on her sleeves allowed her to carry around all kinds of useful things. I just need to take a moment to... She literally has something up her sleeve. This isn't fair. But it required a certain amount of concentration to retrieve them, and of course she had to remember what she put into the sleeve in the first place. Sample jars, she muttered to herself. Small sample jars with the lids that clamped down. Ah! With a smile of satisfaction, she pulled a glass jar the size of her fist out of the sleeve. The glass had a faint purple tint, and the lid was a glass bubble that was attached to the jar with a complicated-looking wire clamp. Morwen flicked the wire with her thumb, and the lid popped open. She could hear Killer and the cats arguing in the background, but she refused to listen. Reaching into her sleeve once more, she took out a small pair of herb snips and began cutting clover. By the time the jar was half full, the argument had stopped and the animals had joined her. Half a jar was enough for now, Morwen decided. She clamped the lid down and put the jar and snips back into her sleeve, then rose, dusting bits of clover off of her hands. Are you all ready to go now? She asked. Sorry, it says you all. I've grown up saying y'all. I can't help it. Yes, said Miss Eliza. No, said Killer. Trouble glared at. Yes, I suppose so. Oh, I don't like cats. That's what comes of being a rabbit, Aunt Ophelia said. Size makes no difference whatsoever. Come along, then, Marwen said, and she started briskly off in the direction of the house. The sooner she got home and relayed her news to the king, the better. When they arrived home, the other cats were lined up in the garden waiting for them. Chaos was loudly surprised to see that the rabbit was still tagging along, and Fiddlesticks demanded explanations and fish in the same breath, while Jasmine pretended to find the whole affair boring beyond expression. Oh, cats who do that. I'm bored with you, mortal. You'll just have to wait a bit longer, Morwen said over the racket. I've work to do. In the meantime, try to remember that Killer is a guest. Killer, said Fiddlesticks. Who's Killer? The rabbit, you idiot. Trouble told him as Morwen went into the house. The closing door cut off whatever else Trouble might have had to say. Morwen shook her head but did not go back outside. As long as the cats left Killer alone and didn't damage each other too much, it was better to let them settle matters among themselves. Frowning in concentration, Morwen reached into her sleeve and pulled out the sample jar of clover. She set it on the kitchen table and then turned around and went out through the door by which she had just entered. The door now led into her study. Making that door and the various rooms that led into it had taken Morwen a great deal of time and effort, considerably more than her sleeves, but it had been worth every minute. She had added a library, a study, several bedrooms for visitors, a magic workshop, and a large storage area since she moved in. I have a fucking dinky little studio apartment. Why can't I do this? And all without using up any of the garden. And there was still space for 3 or 4 more rooms if she needed them, before she'd have to add a second magic door. I want one. Frowning slightly, Morwen skirted the cluttered desk and stopped in front of an oval mirror in the corner. The silver glass was the size of a serving platter, and it was surrounded by a gilt frame, 3 inches wide. The effect was I lost my place, sorry. The effect was a little too elaborate for Morwen's taste, but when someone makes one a present of a state-of-the-art magic mirror, one doesn't turn it down simply because it doesn't fit in with one's decor. I suppose I'll get used to it eventually, she thought. After all, I only got around to hanging it this morning. All right, let's see if this thing works as well as he said it would, she muttered. Taking a deep breath, she said clearly, Mirror, mirror on the wall. I just poked myself in the eye with the corner of this book doing this. That hurt a lot. Oh my god. Don't do that. Oh my god. Mirror, mirror on the wall. I would like to make a call. Oh, Patricia Reed, you're too much. You're too much. Immediately, the mirror turned milky white, and a pleasant voice from somewhere inside the glass said, What party are you calling, please? Is this like a magic mirror operator? The king of the enchanted forest, Morwen answered, impressed in spite of herself. Telmaine had been right. This was an enormous improvement over the mirrors Morwen had used in the past. And to top it off, and on top of that, it was polite. One moment, please, said the mirror. Almost before it finished speaking, the glass cleared. Morwen blinked, startled. The face looking out at her was dark brown, with bulging eyes and a wide mouth full of crooked teeth. What? This is the castle of the king of the enchanted forest, you lucky person, said the face with a leer. Nobody else is here to answer the mirror, so you're going to have to leave a message with... Oh, it's you. By this time, Morwen had recognized the bad-tempered wooden gargoyle. He answers the phone. That occupied the upper corner of King Mendenbar's study. Good morning, gargoyle. Do Mendenbar and Simmering know how you answer their mirror? The gargoyle snorted. It was her idea. She thought it might cut down on the stupid questions people ask. I love her. I might have guessed. Where are they? I've got some news they should hear right away. This isn't a sentence. They've gone to the beach with Kazul. Dragons on the beach. The gargoyle said in tones of disgust. Work's piling up, but do they care? No. Do they even ask if it's a good idea? No. They just pack a bag of towels and take off. Poof. I see. In that case, he humors her too much, the gargoyle went on confidentially. She's healthy as a horse, but you wouldn't know it the way he fusses over her. And I'm going to have to put up with her for another 6 or 7 months at least. What he'll be like... What? What he'll be like when the baby actually... What the... When the baby actually arrives, well, all I can say is I'm going to have a full-time job trying to see that the kid isn't spoiled rotten. Also, I don't see Cimmerian ever raising a spoiled child. I expect... Oh, well, next sentence. I expect Cimmerian will help, Morwen said. How soon will they be back? How should I know? I'm not a secretary. Well, as soon as they arrive, either of them, tell them that I've reason to think there's a wizard running around in the forest. The gargoyle's eyes widened, making him look even uglier than before. A wizard? Ooh, boy. I'm going to call Telemaine next. Morwen went on. If we're not here when they call back, tell them to come on out anyway. The cats can show them how to find us. I bet, the gargoyle murmured. Anything else? Because if there isn't, I'm going back to sleep. That's all, Morwen said, and the mirror clouded over. As soon as it cleared, she repeated the rhyme and snapped Telemaine in response to the mirror's polite question. This time it took much longer for the glass to clear. When it did, Telemaine's face scowled out of the mirror. His ferocious expression lightened only fractionally when he saw who was calling. Oh, hello, Morwen. Will this take long? I've just set up an exceedingly sensitive spell to test the stability quotient of its wizards. Morwen interrupted. Well, one of them at the very least. Though in my experience, whenever one turns up a half dozen more, whenever one turns up, pause, a half dozen more are sure to follow. They're worse than cockroaches. You're in poor humor this morning, Telemaine ran a hand across his neat black beard, a sure sign that he was interested but didn't want to show it. What about this wizard? You appear to have been poking around in my home, Morwen said, or so I conclude from the splotches his staff left in the moss. Telemaine shook his head. That is quite impossible. The warding enchantment that Mendenbar and I worked out keeps wizards from absorbing, manipulating, utilizing, or controlling any portion of the magical basis on which the enchanted forest is founded. So even if a wizard were unwise enough to enter the forest, the staff could not possibly leave splotches in the moss. Okay. I know it's supposed to work that way, Morwen said, but the splotches are there. So is a 6-foot rabbit. This wizard is careless as well as nosy and impossible. If you don't believe me, come and look at them yourself. I believe I shall, Telemaine said. It'll only take me a few minutes to set up the transportation spell, and first-hand observation is always superior to reports from even the most reliable of witnesses. Now, let me see, I'd better bring the microdynamometer and some detection instruments, and he turned away, muttering to himself, and the mirror blanked abruptly. Morwen rolled her eyes. He's in rare form today, said Aunt Ophelia from behind her. What's that about reliable witnesses? Passive-aggressive insult, maybe? Turning, Morwen saw the tortoise-shell cat standing just inside the open study door. Since it came from Telemaine, I'd have to say it was a compliment. Someone should take him in hand before he talks himself into a real mess. He can take care of himself, Morwen said. If he couldn't, someone would have murdered him years ago. I've been tempted a time or two myself. Out of habit, she glanced around the study to see if there was anything she needed. Then she walked out to the kitchen and picked up the can of paint she'd abandoned there after Arcaniz's visit. With a little luck, she could finish touching up the sign over the door before any of her visitors arrived. Oh my God. How exciting. Super exciting.